Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to Face Up. It's one day after our independence and one issue continues to burn at the heart of many Nigerians. Yes, indeed, the hearts of many Nigerians. That's the education sector. We could have been talking politics, or we could have been talking how far Nigeria has gone in the past 53 years, or between the last independence and now, how far have we gone? But we're going to be talking something else, education. Now, ASU has spent 91 days away from the classrooms. That's the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities. Has spent about 91 days away from the classrooms. That means 91 days, about over 3 months, a little over 3 months of sit at home for the students. What have they been doing? Now, what are the demands of ASU? Confusion here and there. Some have said that ASU's issue is about their paid allowances, but some officials and members of ASU said that is not their problem. Their problem is that the federal government is not funding the education system. They had asked that the federal government spend at least 1.3 trillion naira in 4 years to fund the education system. Is that what's been happening? According to ASU, the federal government has done just about 150 billion. Now, back and forth, they've had different meetings, and there's continued to be a stalemate. What is the way forward? Is ASU being unreasonable in their stance that something must be done before they move forward? Or is the federal government indeed, as they claim, or as has been claimed, is the federal government incapable of meeting the demands of ASU? Well, these are some of the questions we're hoping will be answered today. We have in the studio a lecturer at the University of Lagos, Dr. Dan Ekere. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
And on the right is a journalist, the editor of the Nigerian Campus Weekend, who is also a student of life. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Chuka Nabuife is his name.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, this is where we are. Education sector is also being unreasonable. So I'll begin with you. Your opening statement, 10 seconds, and your time starts now.
ASU can never be unreasonable because what they are actually asking for is a way forward for the country. They want an education system that is sound, that is able to compete favorably with every other part of the world. And you know that it has a lot of ripple effect. It's the education sector that actually drives the economy, because that is where you train the manpower and everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, he has already said it, that they cannot be unreasonable. So what is happening now? The question is, what is happening now? What is happening with us? Why are they not in school if they are not unreasonable?
All right, thank you very much. We'll take a quick break, and in our break, we'll bring you a report that has to do with some professionals that are concerned about the fact that the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities have been at home for over 3 months. We'll be back shortly.
Come October 1, Nigeria will celebrate 53 years of independence. On the same day, the recent strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, will be 90 days old. This was the premise upon which these concerned professionals gathered to discuss the state of the education system in the country and the crisis rocking the sector, which they say must be brought to an end.
By the way, keeping young kids at home for 90 days is a national security challenge. Deviant behavior rises. Lots of young kids, for instance, lots of young girls will get avoidable pregnancy. Lots of young kids are going to get avoidable STDs because they are not otherwise engaged. We're not providing them with leisure, we're not providing them with instruction, we're not providing them with values. Their teachers are unemployed, and there is going to be a problem.
On another note, the group believe that the ASU strike appears to be taking a lot of attention away from other aspects of education, which they say require much more intervention than the universities.
ASU, they have taken over the entire space for policy formulation for education. Because every year you're having negotiations for strike, negotiations for conditions of service. So there are major governance issues around tertiary education that we must come up with solutions that will bring the issue of strike to an end.
Gathered round this table, these professionals are determined that a change be brought to the education sector, and they say that while more funding is required, the private sector must partner with government to lessen the burden on government. They propose that all Nigerians take more interest in the sector, as indifference is no longer an option. Omelogo Nadi Channels Television News.
Welcome back. We're looking at the education sector and asking a question. Is ASU unreasonable in their demands? We've had that report there that told us how the professionals are concerned. And Nigerian students have been at home and certain things that are happening, atrocities here and there. We heard about the students in the from the University of Jersey that are now working as laborers just to ensure that they do not get enticed by the evil schemes of others. Okay, here we are. Two gentlemen in the house. Gentlemen, here we go. You gave your opening statement first, so you asked the first question.
Yeah, actually, you know, we left on a point. I asked a question, a rhetorical one. How can an association that within the 4 years, the past 4 years, had at least 3 work actions be reasonable? How can an association, since within the last 25 years, there's no generation, and I use generation now to mean 4 to 5 years of students that pass through schools that would not have at least a semester. Some had up to one whole session of protest. You know, if this is already 3 months. If this goes to 6 months, a typical semester of the study is a 3 month to 4 month study. That is actually approximately. They can claim that they went on this strike while they were on holiday. You understand? But averagely, and as academics is arranged in the world of now, while a set of people are leaving for their holiday, another set is in, either for continuing education or for people who read online or extended education. And that's the only way we can.
When you said they were holidays, I think you got it wrong. All schools were.
No, you can claim that you are on holiday.
No,
that it is a period of holiday.
I mean, the facts are clear. We're not on holiday.
Okay, thank God you do. Thank God you do. No, allow me to finish. I allowed you to roll. I allowed you to roll. Now, a lot of my friends are into are in ASU. They teach.
Okay.
You understand? And I really envy them. And I also don't think that they have an easy job. But there are some things that happen to an organization when when politicians ambush a professional stream. It's just like that proverb that we have in African setting. One hand with oil soils the whole fingers. That is exactly what is happening in ASU. ASU has become more, I don't know whether they are an interest group, I don't know whether they are a professional union, I don't know whether they are a political union, and I don't know whether they are an activism arm of this thing. I think ASU should come clear and let us actually know. Because when you begin to talk about our education sliding, when you begin to talk about they themselves even use it, and they see, when they begin to say that our graduates are, which I don't believe, but if they begin to say that our graduates are unemployable, or our graduates don't get employment, I begin to ask, what is your contribution towards getting the system corrected? What is your contribution towards getting sanity into the system so that it will be corrected? And what is your contribution towards suggesting solution, even if you can't bring the correction?
Okay.
Yeah, so that is my problem with the system.
I think we should take off from this point.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to list, you know, the various levels of strike that have been embarked upon by us.
No, but if I lie,
no,
tell the world.
You're not lying, but I think the thing you should find out is how these strikes have been embarked upon.
What prompted them? What caused them?
Yeah. Okay, like the current one. What is the basis of this strike?
Yeah.
Now, ASU is simply making a demand.
Yes.
That we have an agreement with the federal government.
Yes.
Please implement the agreement. The question is it reasonable to implement an agreement that is duly and freely entered into?
Yeah.
Whether it is reasonable for government to actually enter into an agreement and just decide to jettison such an agreement, whether it is reasonable, you know, what ASU is actually demanding. That is the content of the agreement. I think a lot of people need to know what the agreement is about.
You will notice that
I'm coming. You see, you need to find out what exactly is this agreement all about.
Yeah.
What is the content?
And what is it about?
Yeah, you see, it has different components.
Yes.
First is that the agreement is based on principles. One is that
No agreement is based on principle.
It's meant, I'm coming.
No. Any agreement is based on statute, well-cleared status, duly signed.
Yes.
For it to be an agreement,
Can you just listen to
legal
explanation
first?
Now, listen, you see, the ASU agreement, because a lot of people always have this feeling that ASU is fighting
what did
for
you sign? What did ASU sign?
It's not just ASU that signed. It's with federal government. So it's a public document.
What is
I expected that before you even criticize it, the content should have been made known. One is that there's an agreement to the effect that the federal government will need to fund education properly. And the funding pattern was clearly, set out. Now, that agreement was reached in 2009.
Yeah.
Between 2009 and 2012, no bit of it was implemented, which led to, another, agitation that brought about an MOU that was eventually entered into in 2012 to the effect that the agreement was going to be implemented.
MOU that was entered into in January 2012.
Yes, to the effect that this is how we are going to eventually implement the agreement. One is that, okay, we address the issue of funding of education, and at the same time, the question of earned allowances for university workers, not ASU now, both academic and non-academic. Now, the funding component was that at least the federal government was supposed to release the sum of 1.3 trillion naira, not once. The pattern of release is clearly stated. The first, which was supposed to be immediate, was 100 billion, followed by 400 billion. By the next year, another 400 billion. And by the next year, the upper year, another 400 billion. Making a total of 1.3 trillion. Now, I'm not sure that those who signed for the federal government were blind. I'm equally not sure that they signed on credit, that the federal government does not have money. I think the problem we're actually having is a problem of the will, because you know that when the willpower to execute ideas is not there, eventually those ideas become impotent.
So when you talk about the agreement you signed, you talked about funding education to the tune of what?
1.3 trillion over a period of time.
Over a period of how many years?
3 years.
Over a period of 3 years.
Yes.
So your concern is not your paid, is not your allowance.
That is not the main issue. That is not the main issue. The emphasis is not on the earned allowances that the federal government is trying to kind of politicize. That is not the emphasis.
Okay.
All right? That is all. And again, for me, I even feel that there's nothing wrong with even going on strike for your earnings. If somebody is owing you for 3.5 years,
every year you go on strike.
All right?
But in this case, the strike is not.
No, that's not the basis. That's not the basis.
Is a funding.
Funding. The earned allowances. It's not a.
I thank God for it.
All right. We are simply saying that implement the agreement. We are not, entering into a new agreement. Even the agreement clearly spells out how new negotiations will take place. But the agreement is even not being implemented. And the excuse we are having is that this agreement was actually signed before this government came on board.
Okay.
Now, you need to wonder, is government segmented?
Okay.
Do we have, when we say the government of federal government of Nigeria, is it tied to a particular individual or is an institution? And if we are saying that this government, the present president was not the president then, are we saying that all the things he met on ground, he left them and decided to create his own first? Government is a continuum, and whatever belongs to you inherit both assets and liabilities.
Thank you.
All right. So if there is an agreement, at least virtually all the areas where we have, our embassies, as a result of certain agreements, they are being implemented.
Can I come in, sir?
They were not signed by this current.
My dear.
Yes.
You notice that, and I say I thank God for you.
Yeah.
And you are sure that these are the grounds of the agitation currently.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yes.
Okay. You notice that I tried my best to refrain from trying to say that I know what your grounds are.
Yes.
Until you say your grounds. And you are very, very sure that all this, you are telling the world that these are the agreements that you are having.
Oh, yes.
Okay, let me just tell you one thing. These are not the grounds. These are not just the grounds. These are the painted up grounds.
Okay. So what are the grounds?
You are doing?
What are the grounds?
After ASU's meeting of 29th to 30th of June at Olabisi Onabanjo University, OOU, Agoiwoye, Ogun State, ASU President, Mr. Issa Fage, addressed the press. And that was where the strike was declared. And he gave the clear points.
Yes.
And if, please, I do mention anything that is not in that ground, please call me to order. Because I want you to also tell the world why you are, and you did. These are the grounds. The first ground was that they were agitating. That ASU is agitating that students' unionism in Nigeria has been taken over by people who are not students. Hence, students cannot fight for 26% increment. That's the first sentence.
No, if you said I should correct you said I should correct.
Please do correct. Do correct.
That is not correct. That is not a ground for the strike.
Okay.
It's not a ground at all.
Okay, allow me to finish. You have said that.
Yes.
The first paragraph of that argument, the first of that very lengthy piece, was that the economy is parlous. That is, I'm quoting the section. That the economy is in a parlous state, and that everything is going. The country is almost getting down economy-wise, sliding, and then students get to the angle of the students' union. Then the second thing was that the Rivers State University of Science and Technology, the case with the Vice Chancellor.
Yes.